Hello there. So you mentioned that you wanted to get some additional core work to help strengthen your core so that lower back issues wouldn't be as prevalent. I know that this is for you, but if Jeff can benefit from it, that would be great. I'm gonna definitely keep you in mind at the forefront here. I did want to get a little technical and do like a whiteboard and show you a bunch of stuff by drawing on it, but you can't see it because of the lighting here, and this is low budget. So I'm going to go over a couple of things, just some of the foundations, right, that come into our core and how that could play into lower back issues and tightening up and stuff. And then I'll go over some exercises. And the whole point of it is that these might be exercises that you've done before, right? And they're brought up a lot when it comes to strengthening our core. But if you don't do them correctly, you don't really make it out of the weeds, right? In terms of building up that core strength to go on to more advanced movements, or to alleviate your daily routine from having any kind of lower back issues or during certain instances, right? So when we talk about core, and I'm sure you and I have talked about this before, but I'm going to go over, like I said, I'm going to kind of lay the foundation. So when we talk about core, we're talking actually about our entire core, the band of our core, right? So we have our abdominal muscles in the front, we have our obliques on the side, and then we have our back muscles here, right? And that whole band, it's a brace, right? That's what holds our torso up when we're walking, so we're not just like flopping around, right? It holds us upright, in construction terms, erect. And it basically, when we have lower back issues, it's because our lower back is picking up the slack for surrounding areas. So what we want to do, and a lot of people make the mistake, is that back pain means that you need to strengthen the front of our body, right? Because we want to share the load. We don't want our entire gravity and all that stuff to be in forces, right, coming towards us or behind us or any which way direction. We want to have a nice sound core, a nice sound band. So a couple things that can come into play when, like, for example, you're sit-stand desk, right? I do it, definitely have to be mindful. It doesn't look that attractive, but I'm going to exaggerate. But over time, over here at our sit-stand desk, we let our pelvis dip back and we like duck butt it, right? Puts a lot of load and pressure in our core. So you just want to make sure that you always, I don't want to get too personal here, but you always want to make sure that you're, if you're there, that you've got like, you're mindful about scooping and tucking that pelvis. And that engages our core. And believe it or not, even though it doesn't feel like work, we are engaged, and this way we'll have the opportunity to work on endurance. The other thing is too, if we're doing something overhead, right, whether it's working out, although when it is working out, we should be even more intentional, but when we're doing something overhead, a lot of times, if we're pushing like a box, right, or we're in the overhead carriage on the plane, right, we're pushing like that. And what you really want to do is just make sure you have a nice solid core, right, nice and braced, pushing overhead, so that we can use our entire body as one unit to push. Yes, so, and then another point is too, about engaging our core. A lot of people think that to engage your core, you have to hold your breath, right? So, I don't know, I guess I'm gonna do this, right? Wait for the trick. So, relaxed, right? And then if you go to brace it, I'm bringing it in, I've got it engaged, right? And I'm still talking, I'm still breathing. So you have to learn how to bring it in, right? How to bring in that core so that it's engaged, you're not holding your breath. And then this is something that you can, once you learn how to do that, it's something that you can deploy, something that you can incorporate into when you're walking, little spurts at a time, right? Try for like a minute while you're walking, while you're running on the treadmill, while you're standing at your sit-stand desk, doing dishes, whatever you're doing. Try to work on getting good at engaging that core, right? So a little bit, you can see that little bit of a duck butt, right? My chiropractor hates it. And when I'm mindful in class, one of the things I'll do is I'll hold my arms back here, and it's not just to look cool, it's actually to open up my chest, right? So that I'm not slouching. Open up my chest, and then I'm gonna draw on my core, right? once you get good at that, you get better at engaging it in movements that are meant to enhance, right, or to improve the core strength. So if you don't know how to engage it otherwise, it's a great way to start to like practicing, right, is to work on engaging it. Once you engage it, then you'll be able to do it when you do those workouts. So the 3 workouts I wanted to show you, and I'll give you some rep schemes to do and variations that I think will be challenging as you continue to progress and get stronger. I mean, we could start off with a plank, right? A lot of people do a plank wrong, but when you get good at that engagement, right, try practicing it in a plank, and you'll notice that your whole body is tense, right? And you're nice and everything is engaged. Your legs are engaged, your core is engaged, and then you get a really good burn. Maybe you're holding a plank these days for like a minute, right? And then the minute you start incorporating that core engagement, it's like 10 seconds. Better to have the 10 seconds, right, doing it right, and really working towards strengthening our core than to have that duration. So I'm gonna go over bird dogs, dead bugs, and overhead work. And the bird dogs and the dead bugs are basically the inverse of each other, right? One's working on us when we're in like a tabletop position, and the other one is with us on our back. I think the dead bugs are actually super beneficial for really focusing on engaging that core, because you have like the floor to as a threshold, right? To know if you're pulling that spine back, right? You're pulling your belly button into your spine, like they'll say in yoga, to get that core engagement. So what I'm talking about is that if you're on the floor and we have, like you're laying on the floor, you can try this also laying on, say, a foam roller, right? Where you're laying along it with your butt at one end and your head at the other, so it's running along your spine. Is your back will curve here, right? And when you're doing dead bugs, you want to make sure that, I don't even know if I can do this. Assistant, where's my assistant? But you can see, right, there's that curve there. I can stick my hand in here, right? So when you're on the floor, you want to make sure to flatten that out. And it looks like I'm trying to do a cool trick and carry my PVC around with my butt crack, but I'm not. So regular, right? You want to flatten it out so you can't get your hand back there. And that's how your core should be engaged for dead bugs, right? Which is easy to measure because you can see if you've got that arch down there. For dogs and for overhead work, right? So taking that arch out of your spine by engaging your core is firing up everything in this band. So, since I just talked about dead bugs, we'll do that one first, even though bird dogs is first on the list. Dead bugs, when you're on your back, you can start off with many different variations, right? Depending on how your back feels. But a bird dog is essentially your legs are up in tabletop position, your arms are up, right? This is what dead bugs look like. Ugh. And then you're going to send the opposite arm and the opposite leg back, right? You can see, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm going to drive my back into the floor, right? And I'm going to keep it there this whole time. So my core is engaged. Nice and tight. I'd say start with body weight, doing 3 sets of 30, right, on each side. If your back is still kind of firing up, by doing both arms and legs, you can always just keep your hands up and just work on your legs. So you only have to work on focusing on your abs and your legs as opposed to your abs, your legs, and your arms, right? So you just let that down. To advance the movement, we would have dumbbells up here, right? Light dumbbells, heavy dumbbells when you get more advanced, or you can even put like a kettlebell on your foot, but I wouldn't do that just yet, because if you don't keep your feet in an 90-degree angle and you straighten it, right, you're gonna have a kettlebell on your head. That's not good. So don't do that. But this is like, I can feel my core, like I'm breaking a squat, right? I can feel my core is definitely engaged. And this is what's gonna help with that lower back. On the reverse, so you're in your tabletop position, right? So this is me with my relaxed spine, and then I'm gonna brace my core, right? It's not cow pose, but it's a braced core. So I'm just tucking my pelvis under. So similar to the dead bug, right? We're gonna extend our arm out and back down, alternate. Keeping that pelvis tucked. If you wanna make this more challenging, you can also do it with a dumbbell, right? Dumbbell out. You can alternate it, which makes it more challenging, or you can stand on the same side, right? Or you can do a resistance band. Attach a resistance band to something that's not gonna move, and then you're gonna grab the resistance band, right? So you want the band to be in tension while your arm is extended. Your leg's gonna be out, extended, and then you're gonna pull the band in, right? Make sure that core is nice and tight. And then the last one is overhead work. So that is another thing that people don't really tend to realize, is that overhead work can be great core work. I worked with a client that actually had a hernia several years prior to us working together, and his core sucked, so his back always hurt. And he had an occupation that required him to stand a lot, so there was always a big issue. And you can access strengthening your core without doing a bunch of ab exercises, which I'm not a huge fan of. I don't like sitting there wrenching on, I mean, granted if you use your core, but if you're just starting out and your core's not strong, a lot of people end up just like wrenching on their neck to do a sit-up, and you can access it doing bird dogs, dead bugs. So as far as the overhead work, right, if you're holding a dumbbell, right, a lot of people hold their dumbbells like this. So they're doing overhead presses, right, instead of pulling their head through. See the difference? Now everything is lined up. When everything is lined up, our core has to get engaged to hold it up overhead. It's just like a building. Not to get construction on you, but it's like building a building, right? You have to make sure that your foundation, everything is lined up on each other. Columns are right above each other, right? My shoulders are in line with my ears, or in line with my hips, or in line with my ankles, right? So I'm gonna have the most stability here. And just carrying around a couple of really heavy dumbbells, overhead walks, right? Focusing on pulling that core in while you're walking. Might be a little difficult at first to make that mind-body connection and still like breathe, is a perfect core workout. So I'm gonna go ahead and put together a little something, right? It's definitely gonna have these 3 movements in them, and I know I've had them in the workouts before. I'm hoping this video can help maybe tweak how you've been doing them so that you can benefit from the movements a little bit more. Yeah, let me know how it works out, give me some feedback, and then we'll go ahead and kind of take it from there, okay? And like I said, if Jeff wants to use it, it's cool. These are like my go-to things to use. Oh, I just wanted to say too, in addition to like that whole engaging your core when you're walking and practicing, I mean, without a doubt, if you go out for like a half an hour walk with the family, right, and every couple minutes you're like, okay, I'm just gonna engage my core. If you've never done it before and you can't do it the entire time while you're walking, you'll notice that you're sore the next day. It's a little bit of kind of like a chewing gum and talking thing too. But you'll be fine. Just keep practicing and doing these types of, especially the core, since we use it every day, it's one of those muscles that has a lot of endurance. So you can work on this and do this core strengthening routine as part of, in addition to the stuff that's on Def Dames. And you can do it every day, right? As long as, like, if you're obviously hulking it out, you might be a little bit sore, you might want to do the reverse, like maybe do dead bugs one day, bird dogs another. But if you're doing body weight and you're just building up that muscle endurance, there's no reason why you can't just do body weight, especially if you're doing it properly. You're going to notice a huge difference in a couple of weeks. So, and it translates to everything that we do. A good core translates to everything because it also keeps us safe when there's like unpredicted, right, movements, like if you slip and fall or you trip over something, your body moves in a certain way, right? If you've got your balance, this part's sound and it's going to help correct you a little bit sooner, and you won't I find oftentimes you won't get as, if you fall or you end up on the ground, you don't get hurt as easily. It's kind of like, or you don't fall at all because you catch yourself and you're used to having that, you have that new like personal beacon, right? So that's my core strength video for you. And like I said, I'll put it in a PDF, and yeah, let me know what you think and we'll talk about it. And I believe, if it's not next week, might be a week after that, we've got the whole, a new block worth of exercises coming out. It's gonna be a little different than this one that we just had. It's not gonna be as detailed, but it's gonna have a little bit more dynamic movements in there and conditioning, in addition to the strength training. So the last 12-week block was more strength training, and I have such a hard time saying this word, hypertrophy, which is basically exhausting our muscles. We're going to do the same thing just in a different way, and with that conditioning incorporated, so it'll be a little bit more cardio-ish, but you'll still benefit from it. Okay, I will talk to you soon. See you. Bye.